G'day folks, it's a mini road trip, as in it's sort of only an overnight, but I thought we'd still record something and put it out there for you. It is 3 minutes to 9 in the morning. We have just left the Creation Research Centre, or I have just left the Creation Research Centre. I'm on my own, and we are headed across country to Harwich. I've got a few things that I need to do over there. We're picking up some fossils from a big auction house that I'm associated with, and I'm doing a bit of identification and stuff like that, which should be fun. But as I'm over there, I thought we'd try and find the odd fossil beach to have a look at, and that's when I thought, well, I should probably film it. I've brought no filming equipment with me except for my phone. No microphone, no extra cameras, no nothing, which is a bit, I mean, I should have really thought of this before we head off, but there we go. We're in our new Creation Mobile, which is our four-wheel drive Subaru Forester, so we can go just about anywhere, which is great. So yeah, we're just coming up to the main road now, and let's go see what we can find. So we've just got into Harwich. Harwich is interesting because it's a shipping port, but it's a commercial shipping port. And so the two main things that I associate with it is sort of very windy, with a sort of smell of old shipping engine oil and old cooking oil. I mean, the shipping oil is understandable because you've got the shipyard over there. Cooking oil, well, there's a McDonald's, there's a Morrison's Cafe, there's various random chip shops and sort of deep fat fried shops all around Harwich. But we're here to pick some of the items up, which we'll go through later, and then it's off to the hotel for the evening because it's a sort of 5-6 hour journey over. But tomorrow I want to go to Walton-on-the-Naze in Essex, which has got some pretty spectacular fossils to be found, if the conditions are right. Unfortunately, tomorrow the conditions are 50-mile-an-hour wind, so we'll have to see. But anyway, let's head towards Colchester, which is where we're staying the night. So, just come back from breakfast. I was a little worried initially as to what the weather would be like. I mean, we're just outside of Colchester now, and it's pretty warm, and it's a little bit breezy, but not very windy. But then again, we're not on the coast. But we're going to risk it. We're going to go about half an hour east, which will take us to a place called Walton-on-the-Naze. Low tide is sort of mid-afternoon, so we won't be there all the way because we've got to try and get back home. But it should be a good run, and you never know, with the windy weather it may have brought up some extra fossils. So Walton-on-the-Naze is mostly known for its shark teeth fossils. You have the London clay, which is where all the shark stuff comes out of, and then you have the red crag on top where you get bits of whalebone, lots of shells, stuff like that. So it's well worth a visit. Haven't been there for a year or two, and I thought we might as well take you along. But I wanted to show you one thing first, because obviously yesterday we went to the auction house and we picked up a load of new fossils and some new stock for the Creation Research Centre, and I just wanted to show you one of them. We'll go through more of them when we get back home, but look at what we have here. Now, you should be able to fairly quickly recognise what this is pretty much straight away. It's a crab fossil. So really, really beautiful detail as well. And I mean, just a few things. This is going to be for our new Living Fossils exhibition. We have a lot of living fossils. We may even use some of this for our new Living Fossils, or the World of Living Fossils documentary that we're going to be working on this year, hopefully. But it's a living fossil, and the point that the living fossils of course make is that no matter how old you want to make this, whether it's 20 million years old, 30 million years old, or even a couple of 100 million years old, as many of the living fossils are, all you can prove is that these creatures have reproduced after their own kind, just like God told them to do when he created. So another beautiful crab fossil for the Creation Research Centre. Anyway, it's sort of 8:30 in the morning. Let's go head out. Well, we're here. The tide should be on the turn, so we should be able to go out and see some stuff. It is quite windy, so I don't know how well the filming will do. I'm regretting not bringing any microphones or anything, but as I said, this is just like a last minute thing. But let's head out and see. Walton is great. You never know what you're going to find here. Like I said earlier, shark teeth, lots of bits of fossil wood, lots of shells, potentially some whalebone. But, you know, because it's so dependent on the tides and the weather, as you will see, in terms of what gets brought up and mixed into the shingle, because that's the nature of the beach around here. It really is very variable as to what you get. Some days it'll be packed full of stuff, other days you'll get nothing. I mean, I've come here and literally walked off the beach after a couple of days with 900 shark teeth, genuinely. Other days I've come here and I found 2 or 3. So you never know what you're going to find, but it is always worth a look. And we'll see if we can talk about some of the geology, but it's all going to depend on the weather. The tide should be on the turn. It was high tide at about 9:30 this morning, so hopefully it gets out far enough in the time that we've got here to be able to see, because it is about a 6-hour drive back home, which we've got to do later. So fun. But let's go have an explore and hope that the wind doesn't put it off too bad. But it's a pretty nice day outside. Well, as you can see, it's pretty windy. I mean, we are right on the top of the cliff face here. There's the Naze Tower behind me, and the Naze is the bit that kind of sticks out into the sea. Now that's where we need to get to down there, and as you can see, the sea is still pretty, the tide is still pretty high, but we need to get down to that promenade and walk along. We've got 2 options really. We either try and make our way down there and head along the beachfront, or we head in that direction, which will take us through a bit of a walk through the woods before we come down on the other side of the Naze. So we could go and try that. But I think the tide is not too far off being able to get access, so I think we might try there first. So let's go see what we can do. So Walton-on-the-Naze, sort of sticking out into the sea, but also being along the east coast, as so much of the east coast is, was, and to a certain extent still is, a vital part of the British defence system. It was a central part during the reign of Henry VIII, when we had invasion threats from France and from Spain. It was an essential part during the Napoleonic Wars, and a central part during the First and the Second World War. So all along the east and the south coast, you will find very visual reminders of when this country was at war. And one thing in particular, Walton-on-the-Naze have a lot of, obviously the Naze Tower is part of that as a signalling tower, but you've also got all the pillboxes, these sort of hexagonal shaped defence systems, which you can find all down along the beach here, just as ruins essentially, and also up on the top of the cliff face as well. And so there's been a big push to try and preserve some of this stuff, because as the cliff continues to erode, more and more of them end up down in the sea, and I could just see a couple just down at the front of this promenade here. And you know, this is part of history, this is part of culture, and I think it's something that, you know, you see it so often around, these pillboxes just lying in the middle of nowhere, and you see so often remnants of the war, and yet it is now part of something that is history. So it's good to see that they've got the project going on here to try and sort of preserve some of this stuff. But so long as they still leave some access to the fossils, I'm happy. Okay, a few quick things. We've got a little plaque here which talks about the geology and the fossils that are found at Walton-on-the-Naze. It says the Naze is one of the finest geological sites in Britain, and it provides a glimpse into several periods of the distant past, from a time when Essex was a subtropical sea to one of the coldest periods of the Ice Age. Okay, first comment, even in that sentence there, you can see that there's been climate change from subtropical to a freezing cold period. Okay, what are we talking about? Well, it starts off with the London clay. So the London clay is the rock that's down at the bottom of the cliff, the kind of black grey rock. It says a time of crocodiles and palm trees. Subtropical sea, the Eocene period, some 50 million years ago, home to crocodiles, sharks, giant turtles and hundreds of other creatures. There is definitely evidence of a much warmer climate in the past. But go forward to the red crag, which is the sort of orangey yellowy stuff that sits on the top. It says that it's part of a very cool climate at the time of the Ice Age. So there's been climate change. It's not as warm today as it was when the grey rocks were laid down, or the clay. It's warmer than it was when the red stuff was laid down, but it hasn't yet got back to be as warm as when the grey stuff was down. You see, geologically, the climate's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone up, it's gone down for sure. But also, interestingly, they point out that the red crag lies directly on top of the London clay. That means that there is a gap of missing time, nearly 50 million years worth of missing time in between the London clay and the red crag at the top. And you can see just by looking at it, they touch. There's no missing time here. What you're looking at is a process by which you have these things actually buried. If there was missing time, you'd expect there to be gullies and valleys and all sorts of stuff. Let's go and investigate some further. Okay folks, we have a little bit of a problem. I'm not sure we're going to be getting through that. I think we might have to go over the rocks. Well, we've made it down to the beach. Fossil hunting at Walton is quite easy because you don't really need very many tools. There's no point bringing a hammer and a chisel and all of that because most of the rock here is actually clay, so it's soft. You don't need to split anything open. And you don't really want to spend too much time looking in the cliffs. I mean, you can, but you could very easily spend your whole day looking and not find anything. I know that because that's what I did the first time I came here, because I didn't really know what I was looking for. I knew that Walton-on-the-Naze was excellent for fossils, particularly fossil shark teeth, but I came here, I spent the whole time looking as I might have done at somewhere like, Charmouth or Whitby or the Jurassic Coast. Didn't find anything. Came back a second time, thought, well, we'll give it one more shot, and happened to bump into somebody who did know what they were doing, and they were down on their hands and knees on the foreshore, scrabbling through all of the bits of shingle. And they had loads of shark teeth, so I did the same, and I found shark teeth as well. Now, it is worth keeping an eye on the cliff as you go through, because you never know what you're going to find sticking out. Basically, you get the smaller shark teeth, which come out of the London clay, the grey rocks, which you can see down here. You have the yellow stuff, which is at the top, and some of it is kind of fallen down. And that's got some of the bigger shark teeth, like the big megalodon shark teeth, as well as the whalebone and stuff like that. You also get lots of fossil wood out of here. Unfortunately, most of it is what we call pyritized, so it's preserved in iron pyrite, which is very unstable. It breaks down very, very quickly and easily. So it's not really worth collecting unless it's a particularly brilliantly preserved piece that you think might be able to last a little bit longer. So it really is worth letting the sea do the work for you and washing the stuff out of the cliffs, tumbling it around, and then washing it back up onto the foreshore in amongst the shingle. Now, just already standing around here, tons of fossils around. Unfortunately, most of it is that fossil wood stuff. I mean, even just down here, you've got a beautiful big bit. Oh, the sun's in the wrong way. There we go. Beautiful big bit of fossil wood. But, like I say, pyritized, not really going to last for very long at all. So, not worth keeping, unfortunately. But we keep on moving, keep on looking, see what we can find. So, no shark teeth as of yet. Loads of fossil wood. In fact, I would say more fossil wood than I've ever seen here before. And it's all that pyritized stuff, right? It's metal and sulfur, iron and sulfur. Which is possibly the reason why I'm not finding very many shark teeth, because you tend to find that rocks of certain densities and certain weights tend to get swept together in the tides. And so what we need to find are lots of light sort of shingle, flinty stone, stuff like that, which is what the shark teeth are often caught up in, so you can dig and sift through that and see what you can find. At the moment, just loads of this sort of heavy, metally stuff. But you get a really good view of the cliffs here. So this is all, again, that London clay, that hard clayy stuff, which is where the sand shark teeth come out of, and all of that fossil wood. It's indicative of something that's tropical. However, I would say this is not actually part of Noah's flood. Why? Because it's small. I mean, the cliffs look pretty big, but the reality is, if you go and check out the chalk cliffs, for instance, I mean, in Norfolk alone, they go down over 1,000 feet. You then realise that this chalk is found all over the world, and it's immensely thick, and it's immensely pure. It's definitely a widespread catastrophic flood deposit, as is, take for instance, something like the Jurassic beds that you have over at Jurassic Ark. Definitely a flood deposit. Whereas this, the London clay, it's relatively small. So where does it fit in? Well, if you've watched our documentary Fire and Ice, you'll know that all around the world there's evidence of a post-flood environment which is warm and tropical before the ice came. Lots of flooding as the result of the global flood, or the aftermath of the global flood, but a warm tropical place even as far up as Iceland. So I think we're looking at a period of a couple of hundred years after Noah's flood where you have a warm climate pretty much around the world, including here. Crocodiles and stuff can diverse and multiply and are buried in small scale catastrophes, but still catastrophes nonetheless. Then finally on the top you have the results from the Ice Age, which is this sort of orangey stuff, the red crag. And that's the result of ice and glaciers. So we're going to carry on heading down. We're now getting to some of the shingle stuff. I've got my little pad here, which means that I can kneel down and have a sift through, and we'll see if we can find some shark teeth. Well, the wind's picked up and I've changed my tack slightly. There are tons and tons of fossils around, masses of wood and shells and stuff, but no shark teeth. And it's just one of those things, you know, fossils are where fossils is. I can come back in 2 or 3 days' time and there be hundreds, literally, because I have found hundreds here before. It's just the condition of the tides and what they've done. So I've changed my tact because I came across and I saw this. Just tons and tons of these shells, empty, just sitting there. Now, I am going to collect as many of these as I can. Why? Because next week we are going to start a new research project at the Creation Research Centre, namely making our own stalactite machines, similar to the ones that are in Jurassic Ark in Australia, but these ones are going to be suitable for inside the Creation Research Centre as a display. And one of the elements we need are seashells, because they're made from calcium carbonate, and so they're actually pretty useful in making stalactites. You use your raw cement and your crushed up seashells, add the mulch, and there we go. So we're going to do a whole programme about that and making it and so on and so forth, but for now there's tons of shells for the picking, so I'm going to get on and filling my rucksack up with stuff. Well, I've probably got about 5-6 kilo of shells, which is excellent, in my rucksack, which is pretty full now. My hand is freezing because I had to kind of scoop them up and shake them out and try and get rid of as much water before putting them in the bag. But I'm going to head back now. I mean, I was hoping for some more shark teeth, but we'll head back and see if we can find any on the way. But this is good. A great volume of shells, because I wanted to do that research programme with the stalactite machines next week, and I know I didn't really have enough shells for it, so this has been a big blessing. So excellent stuff. So up here on the cliff you've got a great example of just how close these two layers are. Just remember, there's supposed to be about 50 million years actually in between them, but they are knife edge together. There's no sign of erosion, there's no sign of you know, any form of millions of years whatsoever. It's just beautifully knife edge. And you can also see kind of the layers. There's various layers running through the London clay, the grey rock, where you've got all these trees which are buried together, and all the fossil wood and the timber and where that comes out of. So you've definitely got evidence of flow, of layers, and basically log jams as well. So really nice example here. I found one. Here we go. One little shark tooth there. It's not in the greatest quality, but I found one. I couldn't go away from here again. I mean, I've been here so many times, and there's only been one visit that I've gone away and haven't found anything, which was my first one, so that's good. But it really is quite sparse. We'll keep looking on the way back, you never know. But hey, at least we got at least we got one. Poor quality one, but one nonetheless. Well, there we are. I've had better days. We found one shark tooth, a few bits and pieces of wood and shell, no bone, but you know, we have been blessed with a rather spectacular collection of shells, which will go on to be used for the stalactite machine specifically, and we'll be doing that next week, actually, the actual project, and we'll film it and we'll bring you an update about that at some point soon. So we're going to get back up to the top of the cliffs now, and then I think it's time for a cup of tea before we begin to head home. Right, well, we've just got back to the car and unloaded. There's the Naze Centre over here, which I've been to before, aside from the fact that I need to use the bathroom. I think you'd be good to get a cup of tea. and I'm pretty sure they have a mini museum in there which talks about some of the archaeology and some of the fossils. So let's go see the kind of stuff that you can find here on a good day, or has been found here in the past. Yes, here we go. So we've got a very nice megalodon shark tooth there, and lots of the shells that come out of the red crag, and all various different things. Lovely megalodon tooth, and then lots of fossil wood. We already had loads of fossil wood today. Some big shells. Nice little collection of some crabs down there. Oh, mammoth teeth. That's from further down the beach, and also some archaeology, like pairs and sort of stone tools and stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's good, and a much needed cup of coffee. The wind has picked up though again. Alright. Plan for the rest of today then. We need to get fuel first, because we're very low on that. And then we're going to have a stop off somewhere around Colchester at B&Q, which is a big hardware store in the UK, because we need to find some supplies for the stalactite machine. Okay, so we are all fueled up, and we're now on our way to B&Q, which is the very large hardware store, to get some supplies. Give you a little bit of context. One thing that we've noticed around the world with creation research when it comes to examples of stalactites and stalagmites that are forming quickly, and there are many examples of them, bridge stalactites, stuff like that. In fact, not too far away from here, in Essex, at Wheelie Bridge, there was a whole setup of stalactites coming out of a railway bridge. So we know about these kind of things. So what is causing them to grow quickly when purportedly in caves they take hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years? And so what has been ended up being done at creation research, primarily at Jurassic Ark at the moment, but it's been replicated from Jurassic Ark in our creation museum in Tasmania, is to create these stalactite making machines, which contain a mixture of raw cement, smashed up seashells, rubble, stuff like that, the natural cave type environment experiments, which all contain calcium carbonate. And essentially what you end up doing is you have a basin which can be made out of concrete, but we got criticism for that, so we've made it out of plastic tubs, and you eventually have a wick which sort of streamlines the water drippage, and you end up with these stalactites that grow if you add mulch. So we'll do a whole series on the creation of this, but we need to go get some research items. We need a big basin, we need some of the wood, some of the tools, some of the things that we need in order to be able to actually create these stalactite machines. So as I am going to do it next week, as we've decided that's the day we're going to do it, we'll might as well get all of the resources now, because we actually pass by the B&Q as opposed to ending up having to travel out to one. So let's go. Well, we did it. We got the box. You can see it behind me. Huge, great big thing. Had to kind of rearrange the back of the car to fit it all in, but we got it, and a few of the other little bits and pieces. I think the rest we'll get next week when we actually need it. So I think we might even do a live on the day. We'll obviously record everything, but I think we should definitely do a live. So join us on Thursday. It'll be next Thursday. So yeah, we'll be there. But anyway, it's now 3:30 in the afternoon. I've got about a 6-hour drive to get back. I'm going to call into Sainsbury's to use the facilities, and off we go back home. And then we get to unload all of this and see what kind of archaeology and fossils I've brought back from the auction. So should be fun. Well, there we go. It's pretty much dark. We're on our way home. It's about 4.5-5 hours of solid driving, plus I should think I could probably do with a break. Won't need to refuel, but I'll see you at home unless I think of anything else to chat. But obviously tomorrow we are going to go through all of the fossils and the artefacts that I've got, including some new stuff for the Creation Research Centre's shop, the Creation Research store. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, we're now at the Creation Research Centre, so let's get this all unloaded, all the research stuff, all of the fossils and the artefacts, and we'll see what we've got. All the research stuff. Some bedtime reading there. That is a bone. And a half. Oh. Alright, we're going to start going through stuff and showing you some of the stuff we've got. This is the most impressive bit by far. It's a huge plesiosaurus, essentially paddle bone, arm bone. This is actually where it would connect to effectively the hip. You'd have this long part of the bone which would be the flipper, then you'd have the extra, essentially the wrist bone down here, and then you'd have it all kind of splay out. So this was a big beast. Now, I'm particularly interested in this because of this little section here. Now, this is either a bit which hasn't been cleaned away properly, which we'd need to look at, or it actually could be a bit where the bone has actually broken and it's refused again. I've seen it similar in other examples. You can see where this bit of bone has kind of been lodged out and it's kind of healed around it. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of a deformity, which of course we point out with these fossils and stuff. If you believe in theistic evolution, which is God used millions of years in evolution, this is a problem because this is pain, this is suffering, and ultimately this is death. And none of those things existed in the very good world that God described. Other than that, it's a beautiful example of a British plesiosaur bone. It's a huge example as well, and so yeah, it's a great new addition to the museum, and of course there's plenty of research that we can do on that kind of stuff as well. So let's carry on through what our findings are. Here's another wonderful acquisition which we'll put down over here. Again, plesiosaurus, and this time vertebrae. From a different location. This is from Britain, from the Jurassic stuff. This is Cretaceous from Morocco, and you can see it's got these beautiful vertebrae with these big long spines which would have all been pieced together. It's in its original rock, in the original matrix. You can see it's actually been coated in a plaster cast to help hold it all together so it doesn't crumble and isn't too fragile. So well, actually, these were referred to as dragons. You see, what we have here at the Creation Research Centre, we have a great big sign outside which says the Creation Research Centre, where dragons praise the Lord. And somebody commented on Facebook the other day from the local area saying, well, the last time I saw, dragons weren't real, they were mythological beasts, and they certainly didn't, worship a god. Well, two things. Number one, history lesson. You will find if you go to the Natural History Museum, and this is from an old Victorian collection as well, this one, just like the ones are in the Natural History Museum in London, and you can see scrawled out in big thick ink, sea dragon. Because back before the word dinosaur was invented, which wasn't until 1841 by Sir Richard Owen, these were referred before, during and after the invention of the name Dinosauria as dragons. In fact, the Chinese still refer to them as dragons. So first of all, historical lesson. Secondly, there's that famous verse in Psalms where it says, praise the Lord from the earth, you great dragons, if of course you're reading in the King James Version. King James Version was written before the word dinosaur was invented. So dragon was still a word that was used to describe these great reptilian beasts, sea dragon or otherwise. Of course, in modern translations, it's become politically incorrect to write dinosaur instead of dragon, so they translate it to whale or some other beast. But the reality is, in the old Bible versions, it was dragon, and dragon was a word which was used commonly throughout history to refer to these dinosaur-like creatures. So I'm going to shift these back over here and we'll get some more stuff out. This is something interesting. It's an Incan wooden stool / headrest type thing. All carved from a single piece of wood from the South American forest. So that's really nice. Historical artefact as well. That's, what have they dated this as? Early 16th century, so early 1500s. Height of the Incan Empire. So that's nice. Also Incan is this thing. Now it's got lots of fragile warnings all over it. And I think it's because it is starting to break a little bit. Yeah, you can see how it's starting to come apart. But this is also Incan. Huge wooden bowl. And of course the Incans were famous for being able to grow on those terraces. So they would have used this to mix and to create their food. Beautiful, beautiful example. Right, put that over there. Of course we've already met Mr. Crab, which is really nice. We've already shown him. Put him down there. What else have we got over here then? Lots of multiple bits. This is also plesiosaur or crocodile possibly, but it's got some beautiful details in it. What's this? 643. Yeah, crocodile. There we go. You can see, just see the detail in that. So this is one of the things that we want to be able to do testing on. So all of that material you can see in there, this is permineralized. So the minerals have permeated the bone, but the original bone is still there. So we can grind the bone down, denaturize it, digest it, and end up extracting soft tissue out of stuff like this. So that's a really nice example to be able to use and be able to test. So here we have a nice thing. You can see we've got lots of fossil bird footprints in the mudstone. So all these little squiggly bits are all the bird footprints. So that's really nice. That's yeah, French. So that's good. Right, back over here again, we've got some more fossils. So here's a classic living fossil for you. It's of course the sea urchin, still inside its matrix, which is very nice. Excellent. And what else have we got? Let's put that in there for the time being. We've done that. We've got some ethnic stuff. So we've got some African tribal stuff. The amphora, which has been wrapped in leather, which is actually really nice. And they'll help the shop to have a sort of, you know, rustic, authentic feel. There's another one there. And then we've got Camarasaurus, I believe, bone. Yes, Camarasaurus bone. Part of a limb bone there. That's great for testing. And then we've got some more artefacts. So this is great. This is a big seal stone. So I don't know how well the light is going to show up, but that's the seal stone there, right? This is the impression. And you can probably just about see you've got a figure. It says it's a cultic scene. So you can see there's a figure and he's worshipping the moon, the crescent moon. And we've made the connection many times between the ancient Middle East and the, well, modern Middle East, if you like, the connection between Bala and Allah and the crescent moon and the goddess of fertility and all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be a special Middle Eastern, part of a special Middle Eastern historical artifact display, which will eventually get set up here in the museum. So that's a nice addition. We've got some other stuff to test. This is Neolithic bone, and there's specifically bone tools. So it's Neolithic, which is great because it's supposed to predate the Bible, and we can use this to do tests on things like, well, we can actually use it to do carbon-14 testing and see what ends up coming out, what results we end up coming out. So that's a nice selection of things. Another little Jewish scarab imprint. Lots and lots of big piles of stuff now. So we've got loads of these flint tools, flint artefacts, which are from a historical collection. You see the original label where it all tells you where it comes from, around Sheffield. So those will all need to be sorted out. But let's have a look at some of these, because we've got a few bags of what were labelled as historical fossils. They're all from an old Victorian collection. I have no idea what's inside of them, but they were picked up very, very cheap, and it's always worth picking these up because they tend to be in good condition. And you just never know what you find. So let's have a look and see if there's anything interesting. There appears to be, yeah, that seems to be part of a fish there. You can see part of the fish scales down there. Let's have a look. This is going to be plant material. Yep, lots and lots of plant material there. This is all from the coal measures by the looks of it. In fact, they almost look a bit ginkgo-like. They need more investigation. Oh my goodness, I recognise this. Oh, I think I know what this is. Can you see the fish? And these white bits, in fact, it is! I know exactly what this is. And John does too. This is Willamai pine. That's what it is. It's the fish, right? So sweet sea creature with the dinosaur tree, with the Willamai pine. So the Willamai pine was known as the dinosaur tree because it was thought to be extinct for like 150 odd million years. And then they discovered it in the Willamai National Forest. So we've got some Willamai trees around here somewhere. They're probably upstairs. But yeah, that's what it is. I'm sure. I need to check with John, but I'm sure that's what it is. Willamai pine, fish. Perfect. Of course, flood as well. So, that's a brilliant find. You never know what you're going to find digging through this historical stuff. I think these look like more coal measures of stuff. Yeah, definitely more coal measures, plant stuff, I think. What does it say here? Carboniferous, Gloucestershire. Yeah, that's what it is. All this Carboniferous fossils. Beautiful. Right, wow. That's exciting. This, of course, is the Pennsylvanian stuff. All the ferns and everything, and you need to check these carefully because occasionally you can find thorns and stuff on it, but you can see all the ferns there, beautiful. So we'll go through that carefully as well later. Now this bag here, these 2 bags, these are all historical fossils, and I can already see shells and all big bits of bone and all sorts. So these need to be properly spread out, and we'll dig through it. I think we might do a special just about that perhaps. This is all Roman pottery, Roman artefacts, so some of these will go in the shop, some of these will go on display, so you can come and buy your own piece of Roman artefacts. But then this whole crate over here is all new stock for the Creation Research store. So you can just see over here we've got all of our shops set up on the other side. So the idea of the centre is that you can come and you can also come and buy stuff as well. So we've got some great new things to be able to put into the store. Fossil wood, lots of crystally things as well. Beautiful green calcite. What have we got here? More peacock ore, desert stones, gypsum, which although they're called desert stones, they require a flood to create, but there we go. Beautiful amethyst as well. I love the gorgeous amethyst. So yeah, we've got a whole great big setup of stuff ready to go as well. So yeah, I think a fairly successful trip overall. We've got some great new fossils. I'm really thrilled about this. I'm sure I've seen these in John's collection, so that's an amazing find that I wasn't bargaining for, so that's brilliant. We've got lots and lots of shells. We can see, remember, we've got our whole research area, which we're going to set up that stalactite machine as well, so that's really good. So yeah, even though it wasn't as successful with the Walton-on-the-Naze stuff, I still think overall it was a pretty successful trip. So I hope you've enjoyed this one-off Indiana Jones road trip. We're planning a big one. And the idea, I need to get some maps out and have a look, but the idea is that we'll go north this time, up to Whitby, and up into Northumberland, and up into Scotland. So we've done south last time, into the Isle of Wight. We did a little bit of a one round right up the top of Scotland, but I think this one we should definitely visit some more of the fossil-y sites in the north of England. So I hope you've enjoyed a little sneak peek into some of the new things we've got. Join us as we do our research area, and join us as we continue to dig through these fossils and see what we can find. We'll catch you next time.